Hi, it's Kevin Lobates here, walking on icy streets in Finland, and today's video is a resonance video, hence the hat. And today what I thought I would talk about is how things can go wrong for you in crypto, because there are a few fundamental things you need to keep an eye on, things that you need to keep secure for your crypto and your interactions with blockchains to remain secure. And then on top of those things, there are a number of different techniques that the scammers use to compromise the security of those things. And we'll start off with the first big one, which is keeping your private keys secret. Now, if you have an older wallet, your keys may have been generated with a random number generator, and a new key may have been generated for each and every blockchain address that you have, with just a new number and no connection between any of those addresses. In more modern wallets, we use something called a hierarchical deterministic wallet, where you generate one piece of randomness, typically as a seed phrase, a collection of words, and then all your wallet private keys are generated from that one seed phrase, and from those private keys, the public keys, and so on and so forth. So in all those cases, it is absolutely essential that you never reveal those private keys. And if you do, for the first type of wallet, for each key that you reveal, the assets associated with that key can be stolen from you. For the latter type of wallet, if you for some bizarre reason decide to give away your seed phrase to somebody, then everything in your wallet is at risk. And hopefully over time, people will be inventing more and more ways to keep things in wallets secure, but it's still early days, not as bad as it was 10 years ago, but still it's a single point of failure. So how can the scammers get hold of your seed phrase or your private keys? And the most common way is through phishing, where they tell people that they are someone they are not. They pretend to be a helper, an administrator, something like that, and they ask people for the private keys so that they can help. But of course, they're not helping, they're using them to steal from you. The other way is through hacking machines or devices on which the seed phrase or the public key, not the public key, the private key is stored. So, for example, if you have MetaMask installed in your browser on your laptop, and a hacker gets access to your laptop through some malware, they can go into a folder where the details for extensions in your browser are stored and copy that out. And then it turns out that your seed phrase is protected by the password that you used to unlock your wallet. So if you've chosen a weak password, the fact that your seed phrase has got lots of randomness and can't be guessed doesn't matter. If they get hold of that file and you've secured it with something like password 123 or one of the other common passwords out there, they'll crack that fairly quickly, and then they'll have access to all your assets. So the second kind of thing that can happen to you in crypto that compromises your assets is that you sign a transaction that you shouldn't. So you may think that the thing that's popping up is just something that you sign to prove that you are who you are. For example, when you're using your wallet to log on to a website, if the transaction, well, not if the thing presented to you isn't just simply a random string for you to sign to prove that you can sign, but instead it's a genuine bona fide, say, Ethereum transaction, then the scammers running that website can use that transaction, make it execute. And if what they presented you with is a transaction to give them permission to move all your USDC, then they've got all your USDC. So this kind of thing is not as cataclysmic as losing your private keys to scammers, because then they have everything. What it can do is target specific things, steal a particular NFT off you, gain all your tokens of a particular type. And there is some protection in Ethereum and Ethereum-like smart contract blockchains, in that there are different kinds of signing that you can do. There are explicitly signing transactions, and there are signing messages. And when you're presented with a message to sign, for example, for a login challenge, then it's prefixed with something that means that that cannot be a transaction. However, it does mean you need to keep an eye on what's popping up and what you're signing. And unfortunately, even though there's this Ethereum message protection for signing things that aren't transactions, sometimes the stuff that the web developers pop up in front of you looks really, really dodgy to me. And that can, I mean, it isn't dodgy, but it just looks, it's not just an English text message or some other language, it's a string of numbers or something. And I try to avoid signing those because there's just that feeling in my bones that there's a risk associated with signing what looks like a random string. I really wish the developers would think a bit more about that. In the Authorverse, we had a little kind of scroll work message, ASCII art thing appearing that clearly couldn't be an Ethereum transaction, even though it couldn't anyway because it was an Ethereum signed message rather than a transaction, just to give that extra sense of confidence in what's going on. So conning you into signing transactions, that's the second core way in which scammers can take your assets off you. And then the third one is dodgy smart contracts, having smart contracts that look like they're doing one thing, and then when you interact with them, they're actually doing something else underneath. And of course, one of the giveaways here is they tend not to publish the source code for such smart contracts. The MEV extractor bots, or those scam tutorials that are provided on YouTube for you to supposedly make a passive income of 1 to 2 ETH a day at no effort, which should in itself be a warning flag. I mean, if someone had a way to make $4,000 to $6,000 to $8,000 a day without any work, why would they be putting a YouTube video up showing you how to do it too? That's the kind of thing that at the very least you would charge through the nose for if you were going to reveal it, let alone revealing it at all. So that is another example of smart contracts being used to con you. In that case, what you're doing is you're deploying a contract that's obfuscated and looks like it may be doing some kind of trading through Uniswap or something like that. But what it's actually doing is it's sending all your assets to the scammer. And this is a real problem in smart contracts, especially since we now have upgradable contracts. So you can have a contract that is doing exactly what it says it's doing and has a bunch of functions and you are familiar with it and maybe you're using it for DeFi or something like that. And then one day, without you knowing, they upgrade it to a different contract that now steals all the stuff off you. And of course, you've got into the habit of going to the website and doing your DeFi stuff, whatever it is. It all looks exactly the same. And then suddenly it's not doing what it used to. What it's doing is it's draining your wallet of assets. So that's just a quick review of 3 ways in which scammers scam us. The first one, compromising keys. The second one is fooling you into signing a malicious transaction. And the third one is fooling you into interacting with a malicious contract. Now, there are heaps of other ones out there, but I think those 3 between them probably cover about 80-90% of the scams out there. And of course, every scam comes with its own packaging, its own backstory created by the scammers to make it look convincing. And just remember, firstly, if it looks too good to be true, then it isn't. And secondly, just keep your eyes open. Think about everything you're doing in terms of, does this make sense? Don't get carried away by fear of missing out or greed. And then, most of the time, you'll be safe. That's it for today. That's probably my last Resonance Security video of the year, and I'll see you all in the new year. Have a Merry Christmas, and let's hope that 2025 is a good one. Bye for now.